Welcome everyone to Politically High Tech. Welcome to season 6. Yes, we have made it. We have made it. Especially thank you, loyal listeners. I gotta thank y'all because I'll say it again. Without y'all, this podcast, I don't know, just be talking to a wall. I might as well just do that without having any support. As you may see here, there are some changes, and I'm gonna repeat this from time to time until I get deep into the season. You're not seeing no more Zoom backgrounds. You know, some of them I love personally. That's the only thing I'm gonna miss. You're gonna see is a world map, especially for the audio listeners. I gotta give you a bit of a picture. You're gonna see a green curtain because I don't want too much light destroying it. Yes, you can call me a hypocrite. I have a Jesus Christ cross up there, even though I'm trying to restrict light. If you want to see that, if you want to interpret that as a symbolic hypocrisy, go right ahead. You know, humans, we can't take a lot out of light. We made of filth. You know, we in this human suit. This thing is not holy. Okay, this is our temporary home, right? But I have a blue world map, and I also have the American map that my big head's kind of covering, and that's more on the beige color. And I have some plans, so you can see a little love seat right there, and that's the background. The reason why I'm saying this because audio listeners, I don't want you to feel left out. And my wall color, it'll be light blue, maybe periwinkle, but I'm not a color expert. You can debate me on that. I'll probably concede happily, no problem. But that I had to give that. And normally I like to jump and introduce the guests here, but I'm going to be doing this for a little bit because it's a big change, and you're going to see quality. Definitely bigger quality in terms of video quality. That's the big thing I'm aiming for. You know, this is politically high tech. I was operating kind of low tech. I mean, you want to politically because it's bull crap, and I'm using technology. If you want to make that connection, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So this is gonna be episode 212. This is gonna be a technological kind of episode, and you might hear my unofficial co-host from time to time. You might hear the streets of New York for every once in a while. It's noisy as hell. It's still noisy. It hasn't really died. It was just asleep during COVID. Okay, that's the sleepiest that New York has got, and actually creepiest. I went out. I never thought Times Square would be empty. Never in my life. But it did. I'm going to introduce this guest here. He has a very, very, I dare to say, revolutionary idea to change how pricing works, how marketing works. And I'm very curious to hear it because I have I'll say basic understanding of economics, about the whole supply and demand thing. If there's too much supply, little demand, of course, prices are cheaper. But if it's the opposite, too much demand, little supply, prices go up, right? That's basic economics, and you try to find that equilibrium, the equal point in plain English, just to get that. Some could say reasonable pricing, some could say irrational pricing. That's the consumer's opinion, okay? And sometimes they throw deals and all that. So Noah Healy is gonna introduce us to this concept. I think it's an interesting idea. I definitely want to hear more about it. I'm open to new ideas because the current system, it sucks, okay? I think it needs to change. All right. And I'm sure he agrees with it. I mean, it's like, yeah, heck yeah. He's not very chill. He's not trying to show too much emotion there, but I know he's happy. I know I'm becoming the better spiritual reader. Noah, what? So Noah, introduce yourself to our listeners or viewers, who you are, and what the heck is coordinated discovery market?
Okay, well, thanks, Elias, for having me here. So my name is Noah Healy, as you mentioned. I developed coordinated discovery markets because I'm a recreational mathematician and I'm interested in computational mathematics. And what coordinated discovery markets are is an integration of modern technology to economics and systems that actually predate the modern world. So the existing system is very much focused on supply and demand and works by splitting that into two sides, supply and demand, and has them line up to buy or sell where it's first come, first serve, except you can cut in line by offering better prices. And so they just maintain these two big lists, and when the fronts of the lists cross over each other, they make a deal. Now, that's sort of the simple story, but a little deeper, the people that actually are the supply and demand, the people that are making and taking these deliveries, don't have the time and energy and money and information required to actually play this game pretty well. So what has actually happened is there's developed this middle group of people that is effectively the only people that the edge traders actually trade with. And they are trying to get the edges as far apart as possible, because the further the people that are buying are from the people that are selling, the more money there is in the middle for them to make. And with the rise of computer technology, we've been able to pump more and more nonsense into the marketplace, and that's caused markets to become less stable and more expensive, which, if you've paid any attention to financial news at any point in the last 3 decades, you've noticed that markets are a lot more expensive and a lot less stable than they historically used to be. So what I did is said, okay, well, there is this third group that's bringing information to the table. Information is valuable about where supply and demand lands. So what I created was a marketplace inside the marketplace. So first thing that happens is the market participants engage in a negotiation to work out where price is and where future prices are going to be. And then we use the supply and demand to test that guess. And so what happens is, by iterating through, negotiating where prices ought to be, and then trading to see how well those negotiations got done, and then negotiating based on the information gained from trading, and then trading based on the information gained from negotiation. Very rapidly, this system becomes a system in which everybody knows what all the prices are, where all the prices are heading, and the two sides can be brought much closer together. And the middle people, instead of making their money in a predatory fashion by finding somebody that's dumb enough to take a very bad deal, instead get to make money from the entire market running smoothly. And so they can get much higher ROIs, because instead of just the single deal that they're making money from, they can make money from facilitating every deal in the marketplace simultaneously. So everybody becomes incentivized to create a market that's low cost, highly effective, which right now most of the traders in the market are not incentivized to cause that to happen. And everybody's getting a greater reward from the market than they're currently getting.
Yeah, I mean that. But it comes to the bad deals, I could think of. What's this? Feel free to correct me here. Like price gouging when it comes to those tickets for, I don't know, a baseball game, that they jack them up significantly, and some people are desperate enough just to pay thousands of dollars, and then the seller, the original order of those tickets are making ROI. That ROI stands for return of investment, for those of you who are not financially familiar. So when I hear that, I personally think price gouging is to take advantage of the desperate person.
Well, the example we brought up in sort of our pre-talk, the wheat market in the aftermath of the Ukrainian invasion, the wheat market spiked up, which everybody expected, because Russia and Ukraine are both very significant global wheat producing players, and they were obviously out of the market. But the amount that it spiked up wasn't actually driven by the farmers that were still producing wheat getting higher prices, because by and large they didn't see an extra penny. What that was actually driven by was the people that held the contracts to the sale of that wheat, and they're the sort of people I was talking about who are very good at working the existing system. And so they actually jacked up prices more than the actual price level wound up being, because it was their profits and they just make profits by doing that. And then as time went on and the prices started actually being filtered back to the farmers that were producing the wheat to create the incentives to grow more so that we would, keep having access to bread, the prices actually came down by the time the farmers could gain access to it. And at the same time, other secondary effects like fuel costs, seed costs, and other costs all went up as well. And so the farmers didn't get the windfall at all. And by the time they started seeing the higher prices to encourage them to produce more, their input costs were also being driven up to degrade their actual profits. because the market doesn't care whether or not they make a profit. It cares whether or not deals occur, and those deals can be made in desperation at near zero, profits as long as they happen. And so it essentially attempts to drive both sides into desperate near zero profit outcomes, because that's how the system makes the most possible money.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a more appropriate example. I'm just thinking of entertainment. Just to wake up you listeners. It's like, oh, baseball games are price gouging. Yeah, supply and demand, but that's more of an entertainment kind of example. But what Noah's giving is actually more brand friendly, because this is a very real geopolitical example, and it's multi layers of that cost going up. It's not just the supply itself. It's like I said, the fuel. Once fuel goes up, a lot of things are gonna just go up with it, because they need to, oof, I mean, the market stuff is pretty complicated, but it's important to understand. So, regular listeners, if you say fuel costs go up, expect just about everything else to go up with it, because it costs us a lot of money. It doesn't matter if there's it does matter, but fuel costs is gonna keep the prices pretty high up there. Maybe fuel costs is lower down, of course, with a lot of supply. I'm sure the prices will be cooler, going down just a bit. But let's be real. I think corporate greed, I think, is another factor we could throw in there that influences some pricing. I could throw in the whole McDonald's example of dynamic pricing and all of that. But I'm probably not gonna go there. Hopefully your system be implemented. I'm sure there's gonna be pushback, because especially those who are making money, they say, "Oh, we don't need change." Why should I
Well,
change?
the pushback has already been pretty extensive. So I've been working on the patent for this since, 2016 was when the full patent application was put in. And they said yes in 2019, and then they called up my attorneys to let them know that they were probably going to ignore their own yes, which they subsequently did. When we pressed them on why they weren't granting me the patent that they were supposed to procedurally, they said, give us a couple months, we'll get back to you, because we haven't figured out why we're doing this yet. They came back with something that was indefensible. They claimed that my system didn't represent a physical improvement when it's algorithmically hundreds of thousands of times better. So it would be possible to operate this marketplace for less than it costs to even leave the lights on at the current market systems. Once they were forced to acknowledge that that was true, they said yes again in 2021. Note, it's been a couple calendar years. They withdrew that yes in 3 weeks, according to the people I'm allowed to talk to, on orders from people that they're not allowed to talk about, who made no sense to them. And so the new reason is also nonsense, but because they know it's nonsense when they wrote it, they won't reverse themselves if we point out that it's nonsense. Very complicated. So the current stated reason is that effectively that if the patent were granted, it would work and it would outcompete the existing systems, and that would make me rich and powerful. And I guess the patent system isn't about making inventors better off, so they're not going to give it to them. Like I said, they've said that this was the best they could do. They don't understand it, but they can't do anything. So we appealed. And I opened up a case with my congressional office. The congressional office case was unique in their experience. It took longer than any bureaucratic response they've ever gotten. It was a form letter, which is something they'd never seen before. It contained a coda at the end where they informed them that under their policy, they weren't actually supposed to talk to congressional offices, and they were never going to do it again, which was news to the congressional office. They've opened numerous cases and still have cases open with the patent office that don't have something like this on. And they actually had factual errors. They left out the entire first yes incident to make themselves look better. So that was all very strange. I've filed an appeal, and in July of 2023, they scheduled the appeal to be heard in July of 2025. So Uh, so they've got another 13 months before they have to attempt to defend their nonsense. And we'll see what happens when that comes due. And as I'd mentioned to you before, I do have a petition up on change.org for anybody that would like to help boost the concept of having a functioning economy.
Yeah, you heard that. That was a nice, relevant plug-in. I always like that, especially when it's nice and relevant. Boom, right there. Look, I'm open to it. Only I'll save that for the end if there's at least no obvious direct relevance. But that was a good way to do it. That was a good way. The only thing I don't want to deal with in my podcast personally is like, oh, okay, we talk about, what'll be a good example? We're talking about how to heal, I don't know, someone's skin condition, and yet you plug in fast food. What the hell are you doing? I'll have a problem with that, but relevant plugins, I'm all for it. So, future guests, take note. Take note. Seriously, I like relevant plugins. It could be plug in the middle. Shoot, it could even be in the beginning. Beginning and the end is where I'm very laissez-faire. Don't care. But the middle, it has to be more relevant, just like that. So, future guests, pay attention. Open your ears and eyes. If you're especially watching, open your eyes and ears. If you're listening, just open your ears to your subconscious level. Hey, that's all I'm going to say about that. So, you want tips how to be a great guest here? I just gave you just one. I normally keep this low profile. It's a great example. I'm big mouth when it comes to good examples. All right. Enough of guest praising. Yeah. So I think So you're gonna you've been having a very long bureaucratic battle. And sure, back and forth. Yes, then no, then ignore. They got rejected. Back and forth. It's like a two-faced entity. Okay, it's a smile, yes, and then the next week is no because of ABC. Yeah, I mean, legal processes are very long, very tiring, and very, very tedious. But if you're gonna fight for something you really believe in, just get ready for that, because the government, the bureaucrats, they simply hate change, especially if they're afraid of it, if they don't see a benefit to them. Yeah, I said to them. Because there's inventions that's good for the people, but they're gonna reject it because of politics and who they're influenced by and all that good stuff. It's not really a political episode, but I'm just gonna talk politics in a very, very surface level. Just know that, especially if it's a patent, that could do some revolutionary change. And change. This is one of the reasons why change never comes easy, even like a nation like America.
Oh yeah,
Achieved,
yeah, absolutely. People are motivated by what they care about, and if you've got what looks to be a stable job with a decent retirement coming down the pike, that's what you care about, and you don't want anything to alter the things that cause that to happen. And what we're seeing around the world is that change is coming whether we want it to or not. The technological shifts are undermining our existing economic and political systems' abilities to operate. In my case, with CDM and the market structure, I'd mentioned that the existing market operates on first come, first serve. Except that's not actually true anymore because computers are so fast, we can't actually tell the difference between who's first and who isn't. And so we actually just measure it out microsecond by microsecond, which you'd think would be unique. Like, they do Olympic races in hundredths of a second and somebody wins and, nobody else does. But computers can do thousands of things in a microsecond. And so what actually happens is lots of people show up first, and then they have an algorithm that sort of decides who's important and who isn't. And guess who isn't important? It's the people that actually make stuff and the people that actually use that stuff to make the things that we all live on. So that at its very core starts breaking down. And with the way that I'm doing things, I don't have that time component. And so I don't need to have that unfairness built into my system because information is more important than time. And the same thing's happening in politics. We've seen an explosion in the amount of information and access that people can gain, and this can derail even national campaigns. Somebody can see something or have a picture taken out of context or in context and shift enormous amounts of interest and influence just based on one crazy incident. And with generative AI, it doesn't even need to be an incident that actually happens anymore. People can now generate incidents that look like they're happening at enormous profusions.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I've mentioned this multiple times in the podcast. Recurring listeners, you're going to have to suffer a bit. New listeners, welcomes your opportune time just to hear this for your first time. Yeah, generative AI, as good as it is, and I always try to maintain a healthy, nuanced perspective. As good as it is, it can also be destructive. It's like you said, the deep fakes. It could make me, I don't know, put me in a tutu, do ballerina dance, and say a bunch of racial slurs. Even though it's not true at all, but the video will make it look very true, and some people are just gonna inevitably believe it. So, oh my God, there's a lie. This evil, sick person. He likes wearing tutus as well. And that's very, very disturbing. You gotta watch out for. I think one of them already happened to Biden, but I'm happy that they clamped down on it pretty quickly. There was a deep fake against Biden, and I'm not sure what the source is from. I never heard what was the source from, but I don't think it came from the other side, the Trump camp. That I know of.
There's a lot of possibilities. Famously, when the deepfake technology was first released, the Obama administration actually intentionally created a deepfake of the president with this sort of bar slider sort of show of what they'd done to demonstrate this new capacity that even if you see the president of the United States announcing a policy from the podium with the White House behind him, that doesn't actually mean that the president of the United States said it necessarily. But there's so much of it. There's even a relatively amusing series of ones where it's not video I've seen, it's voice, but people sort of generate Twitch streams with multiplayer, but the player voices are political figures. So it can be, like Trump and Obama and Clinton in like a Street Fighter contest talking trash to each other like they're 7-year-olds, just as a joke. And this is just a thing that we can do now.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I was watching a couple of gaming channels. Even though I don't play video games like I used to, I just don't got time for them. I did watch a lot. A lot of them have used deep fake voices. To your point, having former presidents, talk trash to each other. Some like 7-year-olds, some like teenage backyard trash talk, who's the best and all of that. And some of it, and a lot of the comebacks were actually hilarious. It was good comedy, I have to be honest. See, that deep fake, I don't mind that. That's comedic. We know that's fake. We know that's entertaining. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh no, ban deep fake, please. But when it comes to using a political campaign, or even commercial campaigns, I don't know. That's a bit of a gray area. I mean, I always thought they were bull crap, but some are very entertaining as well. I don't have a strong opinion on that, but when it comes to political campaigns, I have a much stronger opinion. People gotta be careful because American politics is very dirty, and we could just make it dirtier by tenfold with that stuff. I think even Trump team even used the deep fake AI voice alteration, which he took down to Rob DeSantis' campaign. With that whole Twitter chat thing, it's like, oh my goodness. And I could tell it was Trump team because it was like personal insults. He went far with the devil. He got the devil in there. It was just a Twitch chat, a Twitter live. I refuse to call it X, a Twitter live chat. And man, they were just talking, arguing among each other. It was just, that's a very Trumpian use of AI altered technology. People could tell. Some of it we could tell is deep faked by using our level of discernment. I say, yeah, he will do that. You compare it to the AI versus pre-AI age. That's definitely Trumpian, that ad, because he will attack somebody and he goes for the low blow. I say, yeah, that's definitely a Trump campaign use of AI bashing Ron DeSantis, which it effectively killed his campaign. Many things did, but that was just another fatal slash to the campaign. Do I support that personally? No, but that's the world that we're in. We're in that age of extensive AI use. So it's it's very interesting, and maybe as me as a pro AI person, I just think we just got to be careful and upgrade our critical thinking significantly, because is this real? I think that's the first question we gotta ask ourselves, because a lot of people's falling for certain deep fakes. Some of the percentage are 80%,
That
especially if it's used really well, that it looks so natural and real that you could tell if the arm moves a funny way, or the head is positioned a weird way, or certain things are off. I say that's glitches. Okay, that's AI. But if it's done almost perfectly, that could fool the masses, then yeah. But I think we gotta pay attention. I don't want to make this too much about AI. I don't mind going back to CDM. Of course you want, because that's what it's all about. The AI use, yeah, the AI use is
Well,
serious,
that's
and yeah.
yeah. The thing is that the two are kind of fundamentally related, because we've been plugging generative AI into the marketplace for decades now, and it's much easier to generate an order into a marketplace, and so that's what the large trading firms, that's what they actually do. And so the problem that we face in our political system, now that deep fakes exist and we need to upgrade our critical thinking, our markets have been inundated with false messaging, and that's what's leading to them becoming more expensive and less stable. And it behooves us not just to upgrade our critical thinking, but to use our critical thinking to upgrade our systems' ability to deal with nonsensical noise and sort of cancel that out. And that starts at the market design level. And that's where my work with CDM is coming in, is that there's an enormous amount of just blithering idiocy that's being shoved into the markets, and that's potentially even more important than politics. We're wasting a huge amount of each individual human's economic potential by getting people to ingeniously come up with more effective forms of fake orders, or attempting to defend themselves against more ingenious forms of fake orders, or just receiving ineffective pricing in actual productive business that they're engaged in. And by strengthening the ability of the system itself to filter out the noise from the signal, that greatly increases our economic capacity. And for the people that are in the political realm or in other realms, that is the challenge that faces them. They need to figure out how to denoise their channels. And the current misinformation, malinformation, we can denoise our channels by just making that only our noise is allowed to be in the channel, is not the answer that anybody's looking for.
I mean, whew. It's a lot. It's a lot of things we got to iron out on in general. But the only thing I would definitely not advocate for is the ban of AI, just like schools have done. I said, look, it's going to be around. It's going to be expanded, and almost every industry is using it one way or another. Even some like the farming industry is using AI. So I think just banning it's very regressive, and quite frankly, it's more out of fear than intelligence. And it's inevitable, and especially those who are feared about jobs, about losing their jobs. So you're definitely gonna lose your job if you don't try to train yourself how to use AI in some capacity. That's how you're gonna lose your job, almost guaranteed, by just reject AI. AI is for nerds. I do things the old-fashioned way. It worked for me for 25 years. Why should I change now? Well, that's the thing. We are constantly changing, and if you refuse to change with it, you're gonna be nicely flushed out. That's the unfortunate reality. I'm not, I'm pro AI user, but I just believe we got to be cautious, and I don't know when America's gonna get its act together. Besides, blocking off your potentially good idea, when they're gonna put some AI regulations, especially regarding deepfakes and political campaigns. That something needs to be regulated, or just spreading. I don't know if you keep clamping down misinformation, it's a slippery slope. It becomes an attack of 1A, which is some concerns that free speech people, not just right wingers, there's left wingers that are pro 1A as well. That's a misnomer that some people like to say, oh, the left's always about cancel culture. No, there's some on the left that are like pro First Amendment people. free speech. It's just that they have more left-wing opinion that can exist, and I know a couple of examples. Jimmy Dore is one of them, and I'll probably add Kyle Kalinske. Those are the examples I'm going to give off the top of my head. So AI use, it's gonna stick with us for for at least for a very, very long time. It's gonna evolve into something else. That's the way I see it. And just rejecting the whole idea. I think the only way you can reject this is either become a cave person, live like a caveman, or living off the grid. I'm sure AI could eventually find you, and you actually need some level of technology. I'm not off the grid living. I would say that's not for the normal person. That's probably like for the 0.01% who wants to be away from mainstream society. And only a few could survive that. I can't survive that. I don't need apex elite level hunting skills. I don't have. So, rejecting AI is not practical. It's just not. Just go with the chain. Yeah, and especially if it's relevant for your job. Anything else you want to add? No.
No. Yeah, I think that we're at a critical point where we're greatly increasing our ability to use computers. I think that more of you are going to discover that the institutions that we have, from governments to markets to everything else, can't stand up to the facts that we've learned that were different from what we simply imagined might be the case before we learned these facts. And if we don't restructure society in ways that is in line with them, then we're going to lose the society and the technology, at which point that apex predator thing might be the only game in town. But I have faith. I think that these problems are solvable and that we can solve them. And just as modern paupers can live better than kings did 500 years ago because indoor plumbing is a thing, and that basically keeps your kids from dying in childhood. We have a hard time even imagining how much better a society could be if we actually could utilize computational technology and algorithmic insights in our lives and our institutions and our faith and our politics.
That is well said. Well said. Well said. I mean, let's see. I had something that thought slipped my mind. Oh, you want to know what happened before plumbing? You don't want to know. It was a very gross job. Cleaning the sewers used to be a mainstream job at one point, especially during medieval time. Clean that filthy mold filled with feces and rats. Yeah, you need a human person to do that. That's why plumbing was a very good thing. Okay. This is of course I'm going further back into a little bit of history, but cleaning sewers, humans used to have to do that, especially in medieval times, especially when the Industrial Revolution and indoor plumbing became such a thing.
I can go even worse than that.
That obsoleted that, and thank God.
Yeah, I can go even worse than that on you. So Versailles, and anybody that doesn't know what that is, check out the photos because it's really beautiful. It's the palace of the Bourbons in France. Versailles doesn't have bathrooms because bathrooms weren't a thing. And the king and his nobles that basically ran a 24/7 frat party for something like a century in this ridiculously beautiful super mansion palace had to use the corners of these rooms as their bathrooms, and there were servants that basically had pooper scoopers, except that it was not dogs. I mean, it was some dogs because they had dogs, but it was also people that they were cleaning up after.
Yeah, so be appreciative of technological advancement. That's the main point. Because without plumbing, sadly, we will be doing it. And I like that description. We'll be no better than cats and dogs. How we excrete our solid waste. Let's keep it PG, even though it's gross. Alright, so, thank goodness for plumbing. Alright, just be appreciative of that, because you already said it. The wealthiest person, the king, the people who have frat parties, had to remove solid waste, just like a cat or a dog. Yeah, today's cat and dog. Yeah, picture that. Gross, right? You're a little freaked out. But the point is, just be appreciative. And I appreciate Plum. Especially reading that. So yeah, I appreciate Plum because things could have been a lot more barbaric, primitive, and filthier. And we don't want to go back to that. Sanitation is important. You can go to scientific journals and look that up. I mean, easy. Washing your hands is very, very important. Especially, I mean, I don't even think there was a lot of hand soap at that time too. So that's another level of sanitation. That prevent a lot of diseases. That could spread like wildfire. Except for viruses. Viruses are a whole nother thing, like the seasonal cold, COVID, and all that stuff. But it's still important to wash your hands. Thank goodness for soap as well. So we kind of somewhat derail off topic. Not too much. I gotta say that was good. Because let's see, the coordinated discovery market system could find probably definitely more equitable prices for the seller and the buyer to make as more money as possible instead of just being influenced by just supply and demand, geopolitical factors, corporate greed, price gouging, like that whole baseball example I throw in there. I'll be open. I'll be happy to see that be implemented, and hopefully when you win this case, there's ways you can help. I mean, you talked about the petition before, and I'm going to mention it again. You go to www.change.org/CDM underscore. That's that line in the bottom. Patent, okay? And you could contact him. He's a calm, smart dude. I'm pretty sure he's not going to yell at you. I could bet money on that. You contact him at Noah P. Healy at yahoo.com. I'm surprised Yahoo is still a thing. I have to say that. Yeah, they exist, but I put them in the back burner of my mind. And he has a LinkedIn profile as well, where you can see he has a decent amount of articles in there already. I checked it out briefly. His website is Coordisc. That spells COORDISC. Coordisc.com, and then he also has a YouTube video explaining that as well. I checked that out. And he also has a secure server, cdn.net. It's a long thing. I'm not going to read it. It's going to be in the description. All those links is going to be in the description, especially using new software for that. It's going to do a nice job sorting all this out. He has a podcast as well, fourthstage.substack. I think he talk about fintech and AI and all those kind of things, right? Mostly AI.
The fourth age, the AI revolution, and we discuss the effects, probable and sometimes improbable, of AI on our current systems and working towards the future.
Yeah. No, it's better to work towards the future. It'll work out, even though the transition is going to be messy and rough. That's inevitable. It's always going to be messy and rough in some area. That's just how it is. And I've talked about this multiple times, where AI is going to kill off some jobs, but new jobs are going to emerge from it. And some of them are pretty lucrative that I'm seeing right now. So this is a job for you. This is a chance for you, to pursue a more lucrative career change. Especially if you've been practicing AI and you could prove to the employer that, look, I'm your guy. I could fix complicated AI problems and prompts and all that good stuff, and give you a decent wage boost. Hey, you want to achieve if you want to achieve more equitable or living wages, you gotta improve your skills as well. No one's gonna hand that to you. I hate to say it. That sounds like it's like kind of a right-wing position, but actually pretty true. So support him through that petition. I'm gonna emphasize that more, and I'm gonna put all of that in the description again. So make sure that that you get the links nice and clean, and you're gonna see them on the YouTube and Rumble as well. I'm still gonna use those two platforms. YouTube, the subscribe button. You subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. Let me just say that if you really enjoyed this episode, give a like, subscribe, comment, share this with others who could benefit from this, and make sure you contact Noah, especially if you're interested in this economic revolutionary change that I deeply believe it's needed. Okay. Do I know specifically what's gonna help? No, but if I don't have an idea, probably this could help. Probably just could solve some of the problems I've said: corporate greed, price gouging, turbulent, volatile markets with geopolitical bad events, and something like I forgot to mention, the OPEC controlling the prices as well with oil. Let's see. Will it solve every single thing? I don't know, but I'm open to it. The current system sucks. Something is better than nothing. We cannot let perfection be the enemy of good. Okay, we gotta do things step by step. That's how change gradually happens, all right? So, all right. Anything else you want to add, Noah, before I wrap this up?
No, I'm good. This was fun.
No, thank you. Yeah, a lot of people say I'm fun. I think I'm slowly embracing it. Probably didn't expect that, but hey, sometimes you just gotta try things and then you learn something about yourself. So, again, if you really enjoy this, like, subscribe, share this with others. For Rumble, you have the follow button. Same thing to YouTube. Like, share. The only difference is Rumble is it's more free. It's less restrictions. That's the only difference. And for Apple Podcast listeners, just download this and share it with others. That's all I can say from there. So from wherever and whenever you listen to this podcast, you have a blessed day, afternoon, or night.